Good evening. You're watching Primetime News on TV1. This is Zeenat Musafir. Let's take a look at tonight's headlines first.
Police request the general public to hand over crisp knives and machetes to the nearest police station. 200 ammunitions used in T-56 firearms found at St. Joseph's Girls' School in Gampola, suspected to be thrown into the school premises due to search operations. Think twice before reopening schools on Monday, a request made by the opposition and the principals. No change in date. Schools will reopen on Monday, says Minister of Education Akila Viraj. Another revelation about the electricity mafia robbing public money.
In local news, the police has requested the general public to hand over crisp knives, machetes and clothing similar to military uniforms to the nearest police station today and tomorrow.
We would like to make a special statement to the general public. If you possess any swords, daggers or sharp knives, please hand them over to your nearest police station either today or tomorrow. I would also like to clarify that this does not apply to individuals who have a valid license to possess these weapons. Clothing similar to military uniform too have to be handed over to the nearest police station today and tomorrow. The police headquarters has provided the necessary instructions to all police stations as of now.
Police ස්ථාන වෙත අවශ්‍ය උපදෙස් ලබා දීමට කටයුතු කරලා තිබෙන්නේ.
Police media spokesperson SP Ruwangunasekara spoke of reports citing that there may be an attack on bridges and entry points to Colombo.
දැන් මේ ආරක්ෂක තත්ත්වයන් පිළිබඳව නොයෙකුත් තොරතුරු ලැබෙනවා.
There are several reports about the current situation of the country. When we receive such information, what happens is that certain officers report it to the senior most officer or state intelligence. The necessary steps will be taken only after that. We will take steps only after we analyze the information and verify it. We will conduct search operations or use barricades if necessary. Or we will communicate that particular information to the general public. We have seen what certain information is passed to the relevant departments for analysis. The information is circulated in social media. This will create panic among the general public. So we request you not to rely on the information that is circulated in social media. We ask you to depend on the information released by national media centers, government information departments, police and the tri-forces, and on the media briefings we convene. We will immediately inform the general public if there is something.
වහ දැනුවත් කළ යුතු දෙයක් තිබෙනවා නම් අපි හැකි ඉක්මනින් වහ රැස් වෙලා මාධ්‍ය මගින් එය දැනුවත් කරනවා.
In other local news, a set of bullets were found at St. Joseph's Girls' School, Gampola today. Police believe that the bullets were thrown away by an individual fearful of island-wide search operations.
A search operation was conducted at the St. Joseph's Girls' School as a part of the island-wide search operations carried out in school premises. Ammunition including 200 bullets used for T-56 guns were discovered near the school wall. We cleaned the surrounding area. While I was cleaning, I found a suspicious parcel. I immediately called the security to the place. I found the parcel. Then we saw a large number of ammunition in the parcel. After we saw that, we called the police and the army. Further investigations are carried out regarding the incident. Police suspects that an individual had thrown away these bullets to get away with the search operations carried out island-wide.
Professor A.T. Aryaratna says that in order to restore the country back to normalcy, the political authorities should allow the security forces to do their duty. He expressed these views at a function held in Colombo today.
The leaders of this country are cowards. If not, why would they travel with the protection of large-scale security details? The leader would come forward to the people. If they can't come up to the public, they shouldn't take up leadership. The first thing that today's leadership is trying to do is protect themselves. Not only that, they will say, I have bulletproof vehicles and I have another one to give you. We need security for the people and not the leaders. Now a minister has said that the swords were brought for a purpose of cutting grass. They should not make such nonsensical statements but rather come together to protect the religion of Islam. Terrorism has no religion. You cannot identify a terrorist as a Buddhist or a Muslim. A terrorist is a terrorist, and such terrorists will be answered by the police and the tri-forces. They are unable to impose the law of the state, and they are merely holding on to power through political posts, purely for professional purposes only. This needs to be stopped. If they cannot resign, they should just not say anything and keep quiet these days. They should not tell us how we should protect our churches, our children, or the general public, because all you know is how to protect yourselves. The country cannot develop as long as political parties and political power struggles remain. These issues should be taken away. If I had the power, I would prorogue the parliament and appoint a committee under the leadership of the Chief Justice to lead and control the country until the security forces declare the country safe. They can't do their job because of the unwanted meddling and intervention by politicians. If the police go and arrest someone in possession of weapons, a politician will come and prevent that person from being arrested. How can the country move forward in this manner?
එනිසා පාලකයා ධර්මිෂ්ඨ වෙලා නැහැ.
Speaking at a function held at Independence Square this morning, ATRA Ratna made these statements in remembrance of the victims of the Easter attack on Sunday. It was organized under the themes of Rise Up as One Sri Lanka, Humanity Beyond Religion. The commander of the army, Lieutenant General Mahesh Senanayaka, commanding officer of the SDF, and several ministers attended the function.
අපිට හම්බ වුණා විශාල වශයෙන් බෝම්බ ඒ වගේම විශාල වශයෙන් අවයායුධ ඒවා ගෙදරක තිබුණත් පූජනීය ස්ථානයක තිබුණත් තියාගන්නේ කෙනෙකුට යහපතක් කරන්න නෙවෙයි.
We found large quantities of bombs and weapons. Even if these were discovered in a house or a mosque, we know it wasn't kept with a good intention. Weapons should only be in possession of the security forces. We should also mention that there is an attempt to destroy the Islamic doctrine. We need the help of every Muslim to stop this. As religious leaders, we ask you all to come together and the Maulavi to lead this. You have the blessing of the Mahasangha community for your pure intentions. You have the blessing of everyone in this country. We are always with you.
ඒ වගේම රටේ හැමදෙනාගේම ආශිර්වාදය ලැබෙනවා. අපි හැමදාමත් ඔබ සමග සිටිනවා.
ත්‍රස්තයන් නැතිනම් ඝාතකයන් ආගමකට ජාතියකට ධර්මයකට අදාළ වෙන්නේ නැති බවත්.
Terrorists and murderers don't have a religion. These perpetrators should be condemned. This should be the last bloodshed that happens in this country. This is a nation of kind-hearted Buddhists. This is a country that reflects on the Buddhist doctrine.
හිතාදර බෞද්ධ සහෝදරවරුන්ගෙන් පිරි රාජ්‍යයක්. බුදුහාමුදුරුවන්ගේ දැක්ම විහිදිලා ගිය රාජ්‍යයක්.
Now we have been made to realize that this is something much larger than ourselves, beyond our wildest imagination. We are caught in the global cross-currents of events we had nothing to do with. Events that did not concern many of us in our daily lives. We have now stormed into the radar of international security concerns. We can only recover if we unite across communities, religion, and politics.
Government officials expressed various views about the reopening of schools for the second term. This has led to confusion among the parents as well.
As per the instructions of the heads of Ministry of Education and Security Forces, special inspections in schools commenced yesterday and continued even today.
Schools in Colombo and the surrounding areas will be subject to a complete inspection tomorrow. Further, due to these inspections, we advise the general public to refrain from parking vehicles near schools after 1 p.m. This request is for all schools. We advise everyone to refrain from parking vehicles after schools commence. We have arranged separate stadiums and parking lots to park buses and vehicles used by teachers and transport services.
නතර කර තැබීම සඳහා වෙනම ක්‍රීඩාංගන සහ රථ ගාලවල් අපි සැලසුම් කරලා තිබෙනවා සූදානම් කරලා තිබෙනවා.
ඊට අමතරව අපි සඳ වෙනකොට
By Monday, officers of the Army, Navy, Air Force and Civil Security Services will provide security to all schools. Together with the principals, teachers, school prefects and parents, we hope to continue this effort in an organized manner. We have requested them to refrain from parking vehicles near the school's premises and protect the entrances of schools, particularly at the times when schools close.
මේ බැංගවල නවත්තලා එම පාසල ඇතුළු වෙන ස්ථාන ආරක්ෂා කර ගන්නට පාසල අවසන් වෙන වෙලාවෙදී විශේෂයෙන්ම එම ස්ථාන ආරක්ෂා කර ගන්නට.
The opposition expressed the following views regarding reopening of schools on the 6th of May.
On
the 6th of May, Catholic private schools will not reopen. Due to Ramadan fasting, Muslim schools will also declare holidays for a month. Therefore, only government schools have been declared to reopen. The Minister of Education has informed the principals that if security committees have been appointed and if the principal can discuss the matter with the police and obtain police security to proceed with reopening their school. Can the principal decide to reopen schools? The decision to reopen schools was taken single-handedly. I must inform the public that this decision was taken based on the advice and instructions given by the government and security forces. They have guaranteed to ensure the security, and they have taken the necessary steps in this regard. This decision was taken after analysing all conditions, especially the advice given by the security committee. Although the minister expressed these views in the morning, issuing a release, the government information department said the government has decided to open schools for the second term only for students from grade 6 and upwards on the 6th of May. Accordingly, primary school students will commence school for the second term on the 13th of May. All students are the same. There's no such thing as security of the Catholic children, Muslim children or security of students in private schools. All of them are children. There's no such thing as children over or below grade 6. If an incident occurs, everyone will be affected. The Educational Ministry should be more aware that their decisions affect all of these children. Parents have no trust in the security inside schools. What we have to say is the Minister of Education talks about laptop computers and famous topics of that nature, but he doesn't think enough on these topics. The problem is they have no idea about the security of the students.
Saudi Arabia is learned to have arrested Maulana Villa, brother-in-law of the Islamic State-inspired Shangri-La hotel bomber Zahran Hashim, and a colleague of his who just goes by the name Shanawaj. Last week, on the basis of inputs from Indian intelligence, Hindustan Times said officers in Indian security agencies are in touch with their Saudi Arabian counterparts to find out on any links between the IS cadres responsible for the Sri Lanka attacks and Kerala Tamil Nadu module in India, with Colombo on the verge of sending a team to Saudi Arabia. Meanwhile, search operations continued island-wide today as well. During a search operation carried out last night in Katunayaka, police discovered 5 ammunition bullets suspected to be used in anti-aircraft weapons abandoned in a public cemetery in Abandolua. In addition, the owner of a house near the Katunayaka Air Force camp, who had in his possession 2 drone cameras, was taken into police custody. Meanwhile, 2 brothers employed at a private firm in Katunayaka were taken into police custody last night. Police also seized pictures of the apprehended suspects attired in military uniforms and certificates of training obtained in an Arab country. Kaurathura Division law enforcement officials discovered 3 bombs and a bottle containing explosives used to make bombs buried in an empty plot of land in Hijra Lane, Valipana. The police and the army conducted a joint search operation in Darga town, Arutkama today. Security forces arrested 1 suspect, 2 radio transceivers and 5 swords within the possession of the suspect. The army discovered 2 hidden lorries without license plates inside a paddy warehouse in Nachadua, Anuradhapura. The owner of the paddy warehouse was arrested by the police. It was revealed that the owner of the lorries is currently overseas. The army and the Halawata police arrested 2 suspects during a search operation in Wattakkalliya this morning. Suspicious CDs, multiple national identity cards prepared for one particular individual, and several other documents within the possession of the suspects were also seized. Security forces arrested 3 men and 1 woman during a search operation in Padura, Maravilla. Security forces seized a half-burnt banner with Arabic text and military attire used in a foreign state within the possession of the apprehended suspects. Based on information received by state intelligence units, security forces inspected 2 houses in Duratiava, Kurunagala. Security forces arrested 1 suspect and seized 2 swords and 24 empty bullet shells. All business places and vehicles within the premises of the Kurunagala town was inspected this afternoon. Security forces arrested 14 suspects. Uva Province Tamil Education Minister Senthil Thondaman claims that an Iranian university named Al-Mustafa is conducting courses in schools of the Uva Province without the approval of his ministry. The ministry adds that when he inquired further in this regard, it was revealed that the university's curriculum was taught through subjects such as Arabic language, teachings of the Quran and Iranian political science.
We learned that two universities, namely Al-Mustafa University and Iran University, are conducting courses within Tamil schools in the province. There are 520 students enrolled for the BSc program. 20 of the 520 students are Muslims. The remaining 500 are Christian or Hindus. The ministry inquired as to what they were teaching these 500 students. They teach Arabic and then the Quran. The secretary had informed us that an inquiry in this regard will be conducted immediately. The CID recorded a complete statement from the respective individuals.
The university, identified as Al-Mustafa through their official website and Facebook page, had promoted its courses and curriculum. The website states that the Al-Mustafa University was an institute approved by the University Grants Commission. However, when Newsfirst inquired from the Ministry of Higher Education and University Grants Commission, it was confirmed that such approval had not been obtained. The Batiklo campus in Punani Batiklo is another higher educational institute that has caused much controversy in the island. Similarly, this educational institute had not obtained the approvals of the Ministry of Higher Education or the University Grants Commission. However, according to the official website of the Batiklo campus, the respective institute is affiliated with several foreign universities. Issuing a document, the Saudi Arabian Ministry of Foreign Affairs has passed on several instructions to the Saudi Arabian ambassador in Sri Lanka just 5 days prior to the Easter Sunday terror attacks.
The Al-Ahad news website states that the controversial document carries the signature of the Saudi Foreign Minister Ibrahim bin Abdul Aziz Al Asaf. The leaked document carries the Hijri date of 11/8/1440. which is the date equivalent to the 16th of April 2019, nearly 5 days prior to the Easter Sunday bombing. According to the translation of the Arabic document posted on the Al-Ahmed news website, the Saudi foreign minister has ordered the ambassador to carry out several measures detailed in 3 steps immediately. The first step orders the ambassador to, quote, delete all document and computer data and latest correspondence with domestic and foreign members and groups, in addition to imposing curfew to embassy personnel unless it is necessary, unquote. The second step orders to, quote, inform all those related to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, including councillors, security forces and intelligence, to avoid presence in public and crowded places, namely churches, during the next 3 days, especially on Easter, unquote. And the third step orders to, quote, send written news about the Sri Lankan authority and their viewpoints regularly to the ministry, unquote. However, 2 days ago, the Saudi Arabian embassy in Sri Lanka advised its nations to leave Sri Lanka due to the prevailing situation in the country. The embassy in a tweet said, quote, due to the current security situation in the Republic of Sri Lanka, the embassy advises its citizens in Sri Lanka to leave, unquote.
Sri Lanka's former military intelligence chief, Major General retired Kapila Hendavitarana, denied to Newsfirst that allegations levelled against him by the Indian media of attempting to interfere with ongoing probes into the Easter attacks by attacks with these Chinese officials.
India's Time Economics, in its report filed on the 3rd of May 2019, alleged that audio tapes heard by Economic Times were conversations between the former head of military intelligence and Chinese security agents showed that he was influencing Chinese officials to hinder ongoing investigations. However, speaking to Newsfirst, Hendavitarana vehemently denied the allegations but admitted the recorded conversation contained his voice. He said the conversations were not recent and were between him and a Chinese official over 4 months ago. Explaining the contents of the recorded and now exposed conversations, he told Newsfirst that he had briefed the Chinese officials on a potential American logistics hub in Sri Lanka based on media reports at the time, but nothing about the Easter attacks, as this conversation took place months ago. He added that as a patriotic Sri Lankan, he was deeply concerned about such a US logistic hub that could potentially be a threat to Sri Lanka's national security and sovereignty. The former Inter chief said, and I quote, "Recording my conversation is a violation of my privacy and it must be understood by everyone that this can happen to anyone in the future," unquote. He concluded by saying that how this recording was done, who and when it was recorded is a massive question. Newsfirst has not been able to independently verify the veracity of the audio tapes recorded by the Economic Times of India.
Minister of Industrial and Commerce Rishad Baduddin had left Muscat, Oman. The minister had left the Bandar Naika International Airport last night. Meanwhile, the following views were expressed regarding the incident where an employee of the Ministry of State Enterprise and County Development was arrested for the possession of 639 defamatory letters against the president.
There are more things that needs further attention. Certain statements and certain incidences that took place should be investigated. If we take this matter to the courts, the suspect can be easily arrested for 5 to 10 years. It must be done, otherwise we will not be able to eradicate terrorism.
මේක අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම අගමැතිතුමා දැනුවත්ව ලක්ෂ්මන් කිරියල්ල ඇමතුමා විසින් මෙහෙවපු ව්‍යාපෘතියක්.
This is definitely a mission led by Minister Lakshman Kiriyalla with the knowledge of the Prime Minister. The Leader of the House is an important position in the country. We request the President to take serious action against this issue. The 225 MPs of the Parliament can't trust him as the Leader of the House. If no immediate action is taken, a no-confidence motion should be presented and remove him from the position of the Leader of the House.
එතුමාව ඇමති ධූරෙන් කෙසේ වෙතත් සභානායක ධූරෙන් ඉවත් කරන්න අවශ්‍යයි.
When investigating into information from around the world, it is very evident that terrorism and drug trafficking has a very strong link with each other. Against such a backdrop, what has been the fate of Makandure Madush?
Charges of several murders, including the murder of Danny Hittatia and drug trafficking, filed against Makandure Madush. Charges of robbery and maintaining close ties with the LTTE. Makandure Madush and 24 others arrested in a hotel in Dubai for the possession of drugs. Many of the arrested deported back to the island. He is still in Dubai, hiding behind a court case. When will he be deported to Sri Lanka? For your attention.
Attention of the general public has been completely caught by the commitment showed by the security forces to eradicate terrorism in the country. But Newsfirst learned that several politicians and state officials of the country have not stopped looting from the general public. Today's Action TV is the best testimony for that. We are now joined by Sandro Ferdinando.
Thank you, Z. So let me take you through a revelation which we found out with regard to the power supply or from something to do with the Ceylon Electricity Board in the country. Let me take you back to early this year, the 21st of January. The Ceylon Electricity Board called for tenders, which they call as supplementary power purchases of 100 megawatts through a paper advertisement. So this happened on the 21st of January. A day after that, 22nd only, they seek cabinet approval for this. So generally, prior to advertising, the cabinet approval should be obtained. However, this was not the case, and the cabinet approval was obviously granted. But then later on, this was highlighted by Newsfirst, of course, on the 28th of January, the subject minister withdraws this tender. Moving on, 6th of March, the minister tells the country that there is no requirement to purchase emergency power from the private sector. Come the 13th of March, with the backdrop of all of these things happening earlier, where they requested to purchase additional power, the Public Utilities Commission of Sri Lanka asked the Ceylon Electricity Board, was there a requirement to purchase additional power? In January, however, there was no response given by the Ceylon Electricity Board for this particular letter. Let me take you to the 17th of March, where most of us, you and I, experienced power outages in the country, the night of the 17th of March. So by the 25th of March, again, the Ceylon Electricity Board seeks approval from the Public Utilities Commission of Sri Lanka to purchase 100 megawatts of power. So everyone has been experiencing an outage during this time, but the situation had got worse by the 29th. And considering this situation, the PUCSL grants approval. Generally, when approval is being called for, there is a competitive bidding method where 100 megawatts will be purchased from 3 bidders, and it will obviously be awarded for the lowest bidder. Now, in the meantime of this approval of the PUCSL, they extend an expired agreement which happened in 2016 and purchased additionally 70 megawatts of power. So altogether there's 100 megawatts of power plus another 70 megawatts of power. A week after this, all towards the later part of March, a company from Turkey writes to the subject minister, Rabi Karanaika, directly stating that they have 2 ships with 200 megawatts of power each. And by 11th of April, this is where the story gets quite interesting. The Ceylon Electricity Board officers and the minister held discussions, and they state that if they are to provide electricity uninterrupted power supply for the country for the next 6 months, they should purchase 470 megawatts of power. So if you refer to what I've told earlier about this 470 megawatts, there is something interesting. There is a company from Turkey which has 200 megawatts of power, so 2 ships each, which adds to 400. Apart from that, they also purchase electricity of 70 megawatts additionally from expired agreements which they should have not done. So if you combine these two, it will come to 470 megawatts of power. So let me just keep that thought with you for now. Moving on that same day, on the 11th of April, the subject minister writes to the Prime Minister stating that they have to purchase this 470 megawatts of power without going into competitive bidding, stating that there is a national calamity. So generally, according to the Electricity Act of Sri Lanka, the 43rd clause, if we have to purchase electricity without going to competitive bidding, the Cabinet has to declare that this is a national calamity. Taking this into account, the Prime Minister on the same day sends an observation to the Cabinet to declare a national calamity. Now, accordingly, to purchase 470 megawatts of power on the 20th of April, the Cabinet does not grant approval and says for the purchase of 430 megawatts of power. However, 6 days after that, 26th of April, once again, they request to purchase 200 megawatts of power. And by the 30th of April, Mr. Rabi Karanaika presents an amendment to this approval, which is very, very interesting. The amendments rather states that the 2 ships of the Turkey company should be able to import heavy fuel oil, which will result in of not paying a tax revenue to the treasury. So that's one. The second thing would be this particular company from Turkey will be exempted from tax. And if so, if the Turkey company has to pay any sort of tax, the Ceylon Electricity Board will have to bear that cost. Additionally, this agreement stands that if the dollar rate does not change, which means if it is 180 rupees per dollar, in the event the dollar rate fluctuates and if there are any losses, the Ceylon Electricity Board will have to take that cost as well. So keeping all of this in mind, let's just hypothetically say that there was such a requirement in the country to purchase be it 100, 200, 300 or even 400 megawatts of power. If we follow the usual procedure of calling for competitive bidding from Sri Lankan companies, the cost would be around 16 billion rupees. However, with the current scenario of purchasing oil from Turkey, the cost would be more than 30 billion rupees. So with that in mind, I'll raise 2 questions. Question number 1, we know that the Ceylon Electricity Board has over 1,000 engineers, or rather very qualified 1,000 engineers. Why couldn't these engineers who are very qualified, who would have the facts and figures, predict if such a requirement would be required early in January, be it 100 or 200? Such a requirement is not brought forward. Question number 1 is that. Question number 2 is, we are experiencing a rainy condition in some of the areas right now, and we have heard that there are the major plants in the country are working fine and seems not to be broken. So how or rather can the Cabinet declare a national calamity? So just because Turkey or any country writes a letter to Ravi Karnaika and states that they want to buy power. Can this be done? That's a thought we would like to leave you with tonight.
Thank you, Sandru. Meanwhile, in other local news, the Royal Thai Embassy in Colombo organized a merit-making ceremony on the auspicious occasion of the coronation of King Rama X at the residence of the Ambassador of the Kingdom of Thailand to Sri Lanka today.
The event was attended by the Thai community in Colombo as well as a number of Sri Lankans, including the President and the board members of the Sri Lanka-Thailand Society, the Sri Lanka-Thailand Business Council. The ceremony was presided over by Venerable Dr. Vaskadue Mahindavansa Mahanayakathero. 2 Thai monks, Father Jayasekharamaya, also participated in the ceremony, which encompassed of Buddhist chantings and almsgivings to 10 Buddhist monks. An exhibition about the biography and royal activities of His Majesty Mahavajiralongkorn was displayed in line with this religious event. Thailand's King Mahavajiralongkorn was officially crowned as a divine monarch today, after completing an intricate Buddhist and Brahmin rituals to symbolically transform him into a living god. The King's first royal command serves to capture the essence of his reign. The King's royal command was similarly to that of his father's 69 years ago. King Vajiralongkorn put the crown on his head himself with the help of court officials and adjusted it several times during the ceremony.
And that's the wrap of tonight's news. Thank you for watching News First. Good night and take care.